Who do you think you are, some black woman in a white suit and pearls, trying to act like a lady? You hear me? Hands up. I'm not saying it again. That's what he shouted, right in her face, like she was a criminal. He pulled his gun and pressed the barrel to her forehead. Never mind who she was, and just seconds later, he'd regret laying hands on the wife of a United States Navy colonel. Now, I don't know about you, but where I live, sometimes it feels like folks get treated like their skin color is a crime. Ever seen that? Ever had to stand alone, just to prove you belong? The parking lot at noon was all heat and no sunlight, if that makes sense. The blacktop shimmered, rows of silent cars like animals waiting to be woken. The supermarket's glass doors slid open, and out came Adrian Rowhead high, stride steady, eyes like nothing in the world could shake her. She wore a cream suit, pearl necklace, low heels, and a bag in the crook of her arm, a look that said quiet pride, a life built on holding yourself together. One hand had her receipt, the other a wallet. She moved down the ramp, didn't break pace for any stare that followed. She was headed for her silver sedan, just another trip to the store. So she thought when a shout split the air, "Stop right there, black woman," cut like a slap, echoing across the hot emptiness. Adrian froze, a heartbeat of shock, because that voice wasn't a question, wasn't civil authority. It was the sound of violence wrapped in the word law. A cop in uniform stomped her way, not with curiosity or caution, but the certainty of someone who'd already made up his mind she was guilty for being there, for being herself. He didn't flash a badge, didn't ask, "Ma'am, can I talk to you?" No, first thing he did was pull his gun, aimed it dead at her forehead. Hands up. She didn't. She just finished shopping, still had the receipt, no alarms, no disturbance, nothing out of order except this trembling gun and a man who seemed to want to ruin his day by taking it out on her. You hear me? Hands up. I'm saying it one last time. She looked straight at him, searching for some trace of humanity behind the mask, nothing but the cold pleasure of holding power over someone else. He looked her up and down, eyes like he was checking out a piece of furniture he never could afford. "I saw you sneaking around the aisles," he spat. "You think I don't know your kind's tricks? Fancy clothes, designer bag, acting like a lad to hide something, isn't that right?" Adrian didn't answer. "What's the point, you know?" Responding would have meant his words deserved a reply. She just shifted her weight, just enough to steady herself, and he let out this mean little laugh. "Oh, you're scared now? Good." He needed her panic, needed her fear to justify his own actions. But she stood there, not screaming or running, and that made him angry, or made him need to double down. "Got nothing to say?" He tilted his head, tone suddenly soft but dripping poison. "You think a rich husband and nice clothes make me respect you?" Still, she stayed silent, her eyes steady, a mirror reflecting his aggression right back at him. What he couldn't see, can't even guess, was who was coming up behind him. See, the distance between "I'm holding a gun" and "I just made a mistake I can't ever take back" is about 5 seconds. He smirked again, lips curled with contempt, and sneered. "Who do you think you are? A black woman in a white suit and pearls, playing a lady?" The way he said it, you'd think her dignity was an insult to him, like the life she built was some kind of threat to the order of things. "You people always think dressing bright makes you look clean. To me, it's just another kind of dirty." Adrian didn't give him what he wanted. She stayed calm, head high, hand still, refusing to play the desperate woman begging for her life. She became a mirror exposing every crack in the power he thought he held. The parking lot was so quiet, you could hear a car brake blocks away. She measured his every move, the way he gripped the gun, the way his voice kept rising. He only knew how to control with threats, not words. Then he stepped forward, his boots scuffing her heel. "Or maybe take off that necklace before I do it for you." He wanted her fear, needed her fear, but her eyes had already seen someone else moving in the distance. A tall man in a white Navy uniform, metal shining in the sun, walking slow but sure. The cop didn't see him, too busy talking. "I've dealt with ones like you. Educated act, all fake. Resist and see what happens." Adrienne's eyes never left that white uniform. The man approached like a slow-moving storm, changing the very air. The cop kept at it. "Contempt of law, ain't no one coming to save you." Then, from behind a new voice, calm as a heartbeat, You're pointing a gun at my wife." Adrian didn't turn. She just knew if she held steady, this would play out right. Suddenly, the cop's grip tightened, the gun still an inch from her forehead. He growled, "I've shot plenty like you before. Want to be another black corpse?" But this time, Adrian didn't blink. She just tilted her head, whispered, "You're being recorded." And for a second, he hesitated like a wild animal realizing it was being watched. "Recorded," he muttered. Adrian didn't move, didn't plead, just stood there, a presence refusing to be erased. He tried to yell over the crack in his performance. "I don't care who's filming. You think some clip will stop me? I shoot. I write the report, that's it." He stepped forward, the barrel so close she could feel the heat of his palm through the metal. For the first time, his confidence cracked, and then the footsteps behind him grew louder. He barked, "Stay right there." But Adrian said, clear as day, "That's when the camera will get one more scene for the federal investigation." He jerked, uncertain. "You don't know who's watching, do you?" she said. "Could be a witness, a child, someone in the control tower." She stopped because the Navy man was close now, his presence enough to reset the whole balance. "She is not alone," the new voice said, crisp and low like a command on the bridge of a ship. The cop whirled, gun wavering for the first time. The Navy officer Walter Jefferson, tall, broad-shouldered, not even looking at the weapon, just stared straight at him, eyes clear, presence solid. "What do you think you're doing?" Walter asked, voice steady as steel. The cop faltered. "I suspected she was acting suspicious." Walter didn't blink. "She's holding a receipt and a shopping bag." "You're holding a gun. Where's the suspicious behavior?" The cop tried to recover. "I'm performing my duty." But the words rang hollow. "Do you know who I am?" Walter asked, glancing at the badge. "No," the cop replied, his voice small. "Good. I'm Colonel Walter Jefferson, United States Navy. And that woman you just pointed a gun at is my wife." The silence after was thick as concrete. Walter stepped forward, just enough to stand beside Adriania's silent barrier between her and the man with the gun. He didn't need to say more. His presence was enough. The cop's hand shook, the gun suddenly heavy, no longer a badge of authority, but a reminder he'd gone too far. Walter's eyes didn't waver. "If you keep that gun raised for 3 more seconds, your career won't have a single letter left," he said, voice flat. Not a threat, just a fact. The cop froze, sweat dripping down his temple, words stuttering. "It haught her behavior. She's a doctor. She's my wife. And what are you beside the man using a gun to scare civilians?" The crowd, silent until then, started to notice phones went up, cameras recording. The cop's hand wavered, then dropped the gun, stepping back a pace. "Good," Walter said quietly. "Now we talk like adults." The cop tried one last time to save himself. "I'm a cop. I have the right to detain anyone suspicious." His voice bounced off the walls, desperate now. Walter didn't flinch. "You detain people by pointing a gun in their face?" Adrian, for the first time, spoke. "And what exactly about me looks suspicious to you?" Her voice didn't rise, but every word landed like a stone. The cop looked at her, then at the cameras, realizing every second was evidence. Adrian stepped forward, just a little. "I'm a doctor. I paid. I walked out. What about me was suspicious, or was it because I didn't lower my head?" The crowd shifted. Someone murmured, "Get it all, didn't miss the devil's eyes." Phones kept recording. The cop's bravado faded. He stepped back again, gun lowered, knowing he'd lost control. Someone in the crowd spoke up. "We believe her." That was all it took. The cop was no longer in charge. He was just a man who'd crossed a line. What happened next changed everything. The clip hit social media title. He pointed it at the wrong woman. No drama, just the truth, and the world watched in silence as power changed hands, not through violence, but through presence. Adrian became a symbol not because she fought, but because she stood her ground. Walter became a hero not for fighting, but for stepping forward when no one else would. The hashtags rolled in 5 seconds to fall. "Black on power, you should have known." People wrote, "She did not resist. She was present." An investigation was launched not just into the cop, but into the system that let him believe he could do this without consequence. Old complaints surfaced. Same officer. Same story. No credible witnesses until now. At the hearing, Walter stood in full uniform, not as a colonel, but as a husband. If she hadn't turned, you'd be reading my obituary, not my incident report, he said. Adrian didn't attend. She'd said everything in the parking lot. The judge handed down a 30-year Senencino drama, just a cold, hard fact. There was no victory parade, no headline. Adrian just went home, poured a glass of water, and sat by the window refusing to let hatred cross her threshold. Walter got a message. You may not be promoted any further, but you kept something more important than rank. Adrian got a letter. Thank you for standing up for those who are gone. She didn't need recognition, she just wanted to know that next time, a black woman walking out of a store would be seen as a customer, not a suspect. Now, across the country, new recruits are taught to pause for 5 seconds before pulling a weapon. No one threatens you just by standing still, their instructors say. In classrooms, a simple pencil drawing of a woman in a white suit facing a gun gets passed around. Kids say, maybe you're strongest when you don't shout. In the end, justice didn't come with a bang, but with a presence. Not with rage, but with stillness. And maybe that's the lesson sometimes. Standing still takes more courage than shouting ever could. What do you think? Does justice mean punishing the guilty or making sure no one ever has to stand alone in a parking lot again? Leave your thoughts below because nobody should have to face down a gun just to prove they belong.